Avengers 4 gonna be like real different from Avengers 3? That is some great English, by the way.
Well, maybe read the article.
You're good with the words.
So from what I read from the article about it, the Russo brothers have stated...
I thought this was old news too. Like we thought we've known for a while it's not gonna be Infinity War 2.
No,
we have.
we know that, but the Russo brothers came out and said in a direct quote, and if someone wants to pull up the article and read the direct quote...
I got it.
They said something along the lines of...
We wanted the movie to be very different and distinctive, you know? There's certainly cross-pollination between characters and some story arcs, but, you know, there's a lot of you know in here.
You know?
The first movie is very clearly Avengers Infinity War, and in time we will reveal what the second film is.
Avengers Restart.
Yeah, actually, wait, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there some kind of arc in Marvel where
The universe
Everybody
gets
dies
restarted?
and they rebooted? That's every comic book
but
universe.
not rebooted, but
Yeah.
I guess rebooted. I guess that's the best way to say it. But like everything's like very different though.
There's the multiverse.
So,
In Marvel?
well, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, comic book fans. But in the original Infinity Wars comic book arc, doesn't Thanos win? He
Yes.
actually gets the gauntlets. It takes over time. And then it's, Adam Warlock that kind of like takes one of the gauntlets and fights back and
He's kind
of becomes evil. And there's a whole bunch of...
There's one arc where he remember Thanos, and I'm hoping they give this reason in the movies because it would be really cool. There is an entity in the
Death.
comics called Death. It's a female character.
And he's obsessed with her.
And he's obsessed with her, and he wants to impress her. So to impress her, he destroys all of reality.
Well, I will state...
Which is really romantic.
impress
Sarah,
Death.
I would do that for you.
Oh, thanks.
You're
but,
welcome.
Let's not maybe.
Having seen Guardians of the Galaxy 7 times in theaters, when they introduced Thanos and he's kind of there, he's sitting on his throne or whatnot, and he's actually staring off, and there's like this light, where there's something that he's looking at, and so some people have speculated that's either death or the thing that he is kind of enamored with.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds when they decided to... Decided. Who
Words.
did they... No, sorry. Silver Surfer. Fantastic Four Silver Surfer when they had the Galactus. And instead of actually showing Galactus as this giant thing with his ship, it was just a giant fog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, that's
Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing here?
I would
So
just like
Death
to
is
point
going to
out-
be the light.
I would like to
Tonight.
point out that those are two movies I didn't bother watching. So go ahead.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
No. The two he just mentioned.
Fantastic
Green Lantern.
Four.
My heart dropped.
Green
for a
Lantern
second.
and Fantastic Four.
I felt really offended.
Anyway,
We all watched that. We watched that together the first.
That's true.
I think it's smart what Disney... I don't think it's the Russo brothers doing this. I think it's Disney executives doing this, where they're saying it's not going to be Infinity Wars Part 1, Part 2. It's two distinct movies because people are tired of this whole,
Stretching
Harry
things out.
Potter 7 Part 1, Part 2, The Hobbit Part 1, 2, and 3.
Oh,
But
movies.
so I think what's interesting to me is that there are two Marvel movies coming out between 3 and 4.
Yes.
So how it's just going to be interesting to see how that works. Are we still? I mean, because most of the MCU have all been chronological, right? Besides the first Captain America, which is mostly in the 1940s World War II era.
Right.
Right.
They've all followed one after another.
Right.
None have ever been really prequels to one another. So are we having this first Avengers and they, maybe defeat Thanos or whatnot, and then we have these two origin movies, and then we have the next Avengers. But then what's also confusing is you have Captain Marvel, in the middle of those Avengers movies, but she's also supposed to appear in Avengers Part 1, but they've said it's kind of an origin movie. Are they using flashbacks? Are they not? That's what's confusing.
If I had to
me.
venture a guess, so you'll have Infinity Wars, and there'll be massive consequences that changes everything. Obviously, I would hope.
Well, it's supposed to.
And
be honest.
whatever the consequences of that conflict is, will be very important to the origin stories, hopefully, of the two movies in between. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, but I don't know. I guess for me, when it comes to these Marvel films, and they've brought up these kind of crazy, very noticeable and important story arcs, like Civil War being the most recent one.
Yeah.
in the comics, it was very grand. It was very epic.
Yes.
And sure, it's it's a comic, it's pictures and whatnot, but you still felt the epicness and the scale of it. When Captain America: Civil War came out, it did not feel epic or giant or huge. I think, and I'm fearful that I think what we're going to end up seeing is not this huge major thing, but more of this small contained.
With
meh.
Thanos?
Yeah.
I
I feel like the hype's been building up for almost a decade.
I
Yeah.
think
I don't
Yeah,
think it's
so
gonna.
wild.
I mean,
True.
even
It's-
if you go into it with the whole low expectations,
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got.
It's been too long.
It's been too long.
There's a lot of
It's
That's
it's
what we put
already.
into
I
this.
think it's
Yeah.
already a lost cause, unfortunately.
I remember, I think, seeing, Infinity Wars is coming out, and I was 26 at the time. Like, when the second part comes out, I'll be 30. Like, I remember thinking, I'd be like, wow, that blows my mind right now.
right. But to Ravi, for your point on Civil War, I think it remains because we still haven't seen a MCU movie since Civil War, right? Correct. That was the last MCU. I can't even remember now because there's so many.
Yeah, that was the
that was
Superhero
most
movie.
that was
Yeah.
this year, right? Like
Yeah, but
2
And
months
then
ago.
Doctor
I know,
Strange
but
comes out in
there
November.
are so many continuities of Marvel. There's 3 Marvel universes, so it's always hard to keep
Oh, right.
track in your
Deadpool
mind.
and X-Men. And,
But
4 technically because you got the animated stuff. going.
right. So I think to see kind of the repercussions of Civil War, we have to wait for the next couple MCU movies. Is it just a throwaway line where it's like, there's a registration act, you can't be a superhero? Well, I'm going to be a superhero anyway. They ignore it.
But
Right.
these movies, even like starting with the first Avengers, it never felt global. It never felt huge. It felt contained and small, and
It's very localized to their.
yeah. So like a movie,
They're
like
a
New
movie
York.
that does a great thing where you look at it and you feel, wow, this is the whole planet at stake. Independence Day, the first one.
Yeah.
amazing.
Of course.
That did a
Amazing.
great job of being
now-
like the scale was huge.
Yeah, and I think-
I guess the question is, they weren't able to do that with Civil War, and in the comics it was on a
Yeah.
Earth-wide
they tried.
scale. They
They
tried.
did try because they were trying to point out, oh, well, this is here and that's there, but they haven't shown on screen enough things happening that affect the entire world. So
But-
the stuff that we've seen and the stuff that they've shown has affected the United States, New York,
Right,
or
right.
What's it, Sokovia?
Sokovia.
So-
maybe.
Christian, last thing, and then we need to move on here.
Yeah. I was just gonna say maybe they're saving that scale though for this, Infinity Wars.
I will.
I
I'm
assume
hoping-
that's what they're
I
doing.
will also point out Civil War. All the battle scenes were self-contained into an abandoned airport, an abandoned.
Yes, which was terrible. A terrible
and
idea.
That was the idea behind it. Like it's
Hated
kind
it.
of operative-y.
Yeah, I didn't like it.